like to call the meeting back to order. There was no action, no reportable action in closed session. That sounds a lot better than we didn't do anything, doesn't it? The next item on the agenda is the reading of the proclamation for the Day of Silence. Erica Espino and John Zapata, which I apologize for killing your names, members of COD's Gay, Straight, and Alliance Club will read the proclamation.
The proclamation for the Day of Silence. Whereas the Day of Silence was begun in 1996 by students at the University of Virginia.
And whereas almost 100 colleges and universities participated in the 1997 observation of the Day of Silence.
And whereas under the auspices of the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, the Day of Silence has grown into a nationwide observance with thousands of individuals and campuses participating.
And whereas participants in the National Day of Silence take some form of a vow of silence to bring attention to the name-calling, bullying, and harassment, in effect the silencing, experienced by LGBT and students and their allies.
Whereas the Day of Silence is a nationwide day of respect for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons whose voices have been silenced either through fear, intimidation, or death.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Desert Community College District is fully committed institutionally to fostering diversity and tolerance in the community.
And whereas the commitment to diversity and tolerance leads us to the belief that no voice in our community should be silenced.
And whereas the College of the Desert community has many students, professors, and other staff who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender.
Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Trustees of the College of the Desert Community College District that April 11th, 2014 be designated as a Day of Silence on the College of the Desert campus. Thank you.
We thank you. The board will vote on that proclamation later in the agenda, but in respect for our students' time, we like to have you read it at the beginning of the meeting so that we can all focus on what you have to say, and we won't take up your valuable class and study time. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, the next item is public comments. I have a number of persons wishing to speak to us today, and I have someone that has first written on there. So I'm hoping that I'm reading these notes right. So the first person, the persons who wish to speak to the board on any item may do so at this time. There's a time limit of 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic, unless further time is granted by the board. Your comments will be timed, and you'll be asked to stop speaking when the timer sounds. Please understand that the board welcomes your comments, but we're not able to respond to those comments. So I appreciate you coming today. The first person up is Jennifer Braun Christensen. Jennifer, you can correct your name and feel free. My name is Broughton, and so I'm used to that.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Jennifer Braun Christensen, and I am Executive Director of the Desert Hot Springs Community Task Force. And this is Judy Shea. She is CEO and President of the Desert Hot Springs Community Task Force. And I want to thank you all for allowing us to be here and present to you today. Thank you, board members and president and trustees. I very much appreciate this time. As you can see, I very much think highly of our city, Desert Hot Springs. I very much believe that we're a city of compassion, healing waters, and breathtaking views. If you've been to our city, you'll very much know what I'm talking about. Our city has awesome views, and the waters are amazing. And so we very much have a need in our city, though. Although we have breathtaking views and healing waters, we do not have our needs met as far as education. And by that I mean that we have elementary schools and junior highs and high schools, but beyond that we have been neglected, kind of, and saying that we do not have education beyond needing GED courses for our are students that do not have anything beyond a high school diploma. And right now, we have GED courses that are offered for ages 18 to 24. But anyone above the ages of 22 above the age of 22 is not offered GED courses. And there is a very large need for that, especially with young mothers. I've experienced where young mothers that are single do not have education beyond high school. And so, why Desert Hot Springs? Well, I've put up here numbers that are in comparison to Indio, who just recently received a COD campus. And as you can see, we are very much like Indio. In fact, our numbers are showing that we have a little bit more of a need as far as our estimated median household income and estimated per capita income is less than those in Indio. And yet our demographics are quite similar as far as ages and population. So we also still face the same as Indio. Again, as English is a second language, we still face that as the same. Our demographics are quite similar to Indio in that our students and people need to be educated in English as a second language, and we have that same barrier as Indio and Mecca. Our education rates are that are lower than even Indio. Our high school or higher, which is the numbers here at the top, it shows that our high school are higher, are lower than Indio. Our bachelor's degree are lower. Even our graduate, our unemployed is significantly higher percentage on unemployed. And so it shows that we are very much in need of a campus for education for our students in Desert Hot Springs. Low education equals high crime. The impacts of education on crime, health, and mortality and civic participation, which was authored by Western Economics.
Excuse me, the timer's going off, so how much more time are you asking for?
If I could use the 3 minutes of Judy, that'd be fine.
Okay, Judy's yielding her 3 minutes. Okay,
Yes,
that's fine.
thank you. And so it shows, which was authored by Western Economics professor, CIBC Center Director Lance Lochner. He states that the social benefits from crime and mortality reduction appear to be sizable. For example, estimates suggest that increasing the high school graduation rate in the United States in 1990 would have resulted in nearly 100,000 fewer crimes, providing an annual benefit valued at more than $2 billion. Social benefits from reductions in mortality are likely to be of familiar magnitude. As many of you know, Desert Hot Springs is a high crime city, or thought to be a high crime city. And as you can see here, low education rates can contribute to the rate of high crime in cities. And Desert Hot Springs is no different than the other cities. Our bus ride to Desert Hot Springs is another point that I'd like to hit on. It's something that is of concern to our students. Right now, we face a challenge of having our students where their bus ride is equivalent to that of a job, round trip. And in a town where our poverty rates are so high, it's very much a problem for many of our students. They have to choose between supporting their family or going to school. And many of them have to choose supporting their family. And so it is a problem in our town getting to and from COD. And we would very much respectfully request that our city be looked at for both an express bus to and from COD, and that we be considered for a COD campus. We very much have been kind of pushed away at times, and we very much would like to come forward and say that we're still here and we very much appreciate COD. I've come to COD since 1995, and my husband has attended here. And I'm now at UCR in their nonprofit management courses, and I very much appreciate my education here at COD. And I'd like the other students in Desert Hot Springs to have that same availability, but ability that they can meet. And in so doing, we do need a campus in our city, and we need a bus for our students to be able to come here. I am grateful for the passes that we received just recently We had not been able to get our students the passes that were being given to them, and now they're going to be distributed at our city offices so that our students can have those passes, and we very much appreciate the action in that. And thank you very much for letting us present today.
Thank you for your comments. I look to see if she cares to share her PowerPoint with us. Can we include those as part of our minutes? Okay. So
Yes.
if you choose to share.
That'd be fine, yes.
Oh, we do have it, and okay.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And Judy, thank you for yielding your time there.
Well, she's gonna yield her
Let's
time
ne-
to me.
Okay, she's going, yeah, and
Marnell.
this is Marnell, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's numbered 1, 2, and 3. Not by any other priorities. Yes, I'm Judy Shea, CEO of the Desert Hot Springs Community Task Force, and I started the task force in actually 1993 under the Community Housing Assistance Program based upon the Indio Youth Task Force. And since then, 1997, we became our own entity. And at that time, we in Desert Hot Springs were the most needed community in Riverside County. Okay, it's not me who's saying this. Is University of California, Riverside. They did surveys and everything. And so what we started to do was to bring service and service providers to Desert Hot Springs over these years. And we've been very successful, except, we even were successful with getting the high school and more grammar schools and, so on and so forth. Thank God that, that all come to fruition. But, of course, it's lacking as far as the GED was at the Family Resource Center, and then they switched it over to CalWorks Gain because they start paying people, to provide those services. And so then it dropped off. You couldn't just go there if you're over 22. I got people at restaurants and Kmart, and, when are we going to get, so I can, get out of Kmart and go someplace else? I'm on the Economic Development Committee and the Finance Committee. Don't blame me for the finance, but the economic, it's a known factor that we cannot continue to get better quality kids. And I've got 11 members in college right now, between grandkids and my son and his wife and so forth. And I know what it's going to take. I have 2 graduating this coming May. It's going to be awesome. But, we got to have these college credits available in Desert Hot Springs. Now they're going to move. They've already moved the kids out of Winslow, okay? And they're going to take the alternative center and put them in there. They have 8,000 square feet at Stater Brothers Shopping Center, and that would be a perfect opportunity to put classes in there at Winslow while you're waiting to build our campus. Even though it was only going to be like 10,000 square feet, that's better than nothing, folks. And if you need assistance, I was in purchasing for 26 years with Santa Fe and Amtrak, and I did a 36,000 square foot material control building in L.A., a 28,000 square foot commissary. We did the train stations all the way from San Diego up to Seattle. If you guys need help, I definitely will jump in there and help you with any facet of this. I work with the engineering departments and all the, I was manager of food service nationwide for Amtrak at one time. That was only 3 years because I didn't want to stay in Philadelphia. But, so I have a lot of expertise in this area, and there's lots of other people in Desert Hot Springs that could help you. We got 12,000 acres. There's not a shortage of space. Anyway, I'd be more than happy to help you for nothing. That's what I've been paid all these years. Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We can't do that. I love that teamwork, so thank you so much for coming to us today. Did I see our Mesa speaker come in, or are we waiting? I'm going, okay. Mesa speaker, are we ready? Okay. I was told Carl wants to go last. So, Carl, I offered you, and you wanted to go last. Okay. You wanted to go last, or you want to go now? We can go now. Let's go now. Okay. Yes. Bonnie, sad because she didn't wear a shirt.
Oh, yeah, I didn't wear my shirt either.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We have a busy day over at Mesa. We're hosting our third Science Day.
Oh, excellent.
But our main objection of coming today is that we want to present, I didn't see Gene here. Is Gene Marshu here today?
He's not here
No,
today.
okay, well, we'd like to present this plaque to the Alumni Association. They stepped up and supported our students during the January winternship. They made it possible for us to expand our group all the way to 19 students this past winter. It is the third year of that grant. It was a very successful program. We've already had 3 students being offered internships for during the summer. And as maybe you also have heard, as a result of our NASA program, we also, we've done that now for 3 years, and now we have a new grant that's with Cal State San Bernardino. We'll be doing that same program for 5 more years for our students, but that's for 10 students each winter. We think the demand will be greater than that, and we certainly hope that we can find additional support to increase that number from 10 each year. All right. So anyway, this plaque is for the Alumni Association. It says thank you, College of the Desert Alumni Association, with sincere appreciation of your generous support of our success, the 2014 NASA Winternship participants, and it's all signed by them. And again, I'm a little disappointed Gene didn't make it today, but we'll make sure he gets this. All right.
We thank you for the presentation. We too are very proud of you. So thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us.
All right, thank you.
That was excellent. Okay, so was there a preference on these two folks that are speaking? Okay. So the next speaker is Diana Lamar.
Good morning, Board. Good morning, President Kinnaman. My name is Diana Lamar. I'm the Director of Link Learning for the Palm Springs Unified School District. Palm Springs Unified School District encompasses the cities of Desert Hot Springs, Palm Springs, Cathedral City, Rancho Mirage, and Thousand Palms. I would like to publicly thank the college for piloting dual enrollment this semester at both Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs High School. Our goal, and especially mine as the Director of Link Learning, is to link our programs in with post-secondary institutions, and we recognize that the majority of the students here in the Coachella Valley do go to College of the Desert. When students have the opportunity to take college-level classes in high school, they not only get the self-confidence that they need, but it helps them to come into a community college and not take the remediation courses. So we're very pleased that you're in support of this. I want to thank Tony DeSalva and Zarel Becker for helping to make this happen. As you saw in an earlier presentation, transportation can be a problem for students in Desert Hot Springs, and Zarel ensured that her staff was able to come out to Desert Hot Springs for students to take the AccuPlacer exam to place into these classes. We hope that the college will continue to look at a designated person, such as a K-12 outreach coordinator, to assist with these types of programs. Many community colleges throughout the state have a person who is a link and works with all of the high schools. It helps to facilitate the process, and there's one point of contact. From a personal standpoint, from a parent, my son, 7 years ago when he was in high school, went to John Hancock Community College and was able to take U.S. history and government. And so when he went to college at Cal State San Francisco, he had those college classes already under his belt. And it really, I cannot tell you enough how he felt that confidence, because he was that middle student that really these courses are designed for. So thank you very much, and we continue to look forward to working collaboratively with you on these grants. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Ryan Wall.
Good morning, Board and President Kinnaman. I'm the principal at Palm Springs High School, and I just wanted to say thank you to the staff at COD for their work to help us bring the dual enrollment program and to keep alive the concurrent enrollment program. Those are very strong programs. that help our students have access to the college world, helps prepare them to be career and college ready. And we've had the concurrent enrollment program on our campus for several years, and it's been very successful. In fact, some of our students have done extremely well and have a high rate of completion versus other college students in the concurrent enrollment programs. We at Palm Springs High School are the West Valley campus, so to speak, for College of the Desert, and so we feel a connection to College of the Desert. We feel like we have a good relationship and we want to expand that relationship. Several of our teachers on staff are adjunct professors for COD already, and so we look for ways to again continue to build that strength. So we're thankful for the work that's been done. We appreciate all of the staff from Dr. Kinnaman on down through all of the ranks to the professors for their support and their assistance in these programs. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand that there are some other persons in the audience that wish to speak when the item that they're responding to comes on up on the agenda. The next item is the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the regular meeting of February the 12th, 2014?
Yes, there is one on the, under our reports, under Trustee Sanchez. We, FAFSA event at Pathways to Success, it would be more attended several financial aid. I mentioned the Desert Hot Springs High School event, so several financial aid workshops that I was in attendance, just not just one event, FAFSA event in the Coachella High School.
Leanne, you want to, is that okay? You need trustee to write it and send it to you, or are you
Do you
good?
want me to write it? And then, okay,
That would be
I'll say
great.
that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's
So, with that correction, or rather clarification in the minutes, they stand approved. Reports. First on the up this morning is ASCOD. Is Eleanor here? She may come later, so I'm just going to mark and she can come. No one was able to attend from the Alumni Association, so California School Employees Association.
Good morning, board members, President Kinnaman, and his distinguished guests. Chapter news. As our calendars for year-end events fill quickly, I'd like to invite the Board of Trustees early to our CSA Spring Celebration. The classified staff hopes that Dr. Kinnaman and our trustees will join CSA chapter members as we celebrate with good food and conversation. The date will be Wednesday, the 21st, and from 11:30 to 1 p.m. And I'll remind you at a later time as well. Supplemental retirement program. Upon learning of the SRP, CSA immediately requested to meet to negotiate regarding possible effects of your approval of it today, and the district is deciding ultimately to move forward with it come April. The district has been very responsive, and I'm happy to report that we have negotiated and signed a tentative agreement in which we agree that workload organization, vacancies, transfer of duties, and proposed reductions of hours, if any, resulting from implementation of the program shall be negotiated between the district and CSA. So thank you, Dr. Kinnaman and Stan, for that. This was a serious concern for CSA members that might not be able to take advantage, myself included. I lobbied for 45 as the age, but it didn't. It was a serious concern for those who won't be taking advantage of this generous SRP, and we hope that the district will well consider the importance and necessity of filling resulting vacancies when analyzing the savings to be gained or not gained from this program. So then the next thing then is in today's board agenda, there is a classified 60-day layoff notice. That's included in the consent portion of the agenda. The classified bargaining unit and I respectfully request for the support of the board to pull this item from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. Leanne already has at least 4 requests for public comments on the issue, and the request, as the chair noted, would be to speak at the time that is brought under your consideration. This morning, our labor relations representative, Beth Caskey, as well as 25 of our CSA chapter members took a few minutes of their break time to come and show the support for those who might be affected by this layoff. The layoff directly, and I have her both of their permissions to use their names, directly affects Valerie Stiff, whose position is being called upon to be vacated, as well as Mary Lou Marujo, who would potentially be affected if there were a bump due to seniority. The layoff present before you speaks of lack of work and or lack of funds. At this point, I'm not aware that the district has indicated how the library will be short of funds, particularly since the dean of the area, since that contract has not been renewed. CSCA will be interested in looking at an itemized accounting of that, if that is indeed one of the special cases for what the Ed Code allows for a layoff. And then further, lack of work, of course, potentially, if there truly is lack of work, that is certainly a reason, and that's one of the reasons why the Ed Code allows for those 2 items, lack of work or lack of funds, could be valid. The CSEA has presented to HR a detailed list of all the work functions that are performed by Valerie, and we're hoping that, and I'm not quite sure if HR has investigated those directly to see if those duties are indeed valid or not at this point. One of those interesting things that is related to what Valerie does is she has come to support the Faculty Resource Center, which is what many of the adjunct faculty use for their support. And interestingly and ironically, this was the same place that earlier, a number of years ago, felt the brunt of 2 layoffs where the adjunct faculty received so much more support. Now Valerie was the last remaining bastion of being able to at least assist a little. So that in of itself is ironic and saddens me in terms of the support that adjunct faculty and ultimately students would receive. CSA's position is that if indeed there is lack of work for a position, then that means that the work no longer is done by anyone, whether it be student workers, whether it be staff, whether it be leadership or faculty. So I would very much appreciate if you would consider pulling the item from the consent agenda for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The foundation, I believe, wasn't able to send someone today. Jim Hummer couldn't attend. No, Donna Jean needed to leave. She's got an event today. She apologized earlier. Academic Senate, Douglas Redmond. Can't miss Douglas being here.
Good morning. The faculty have been very busy. The 7 full-time faculty hiring committees have been filled. That's 28 faculty members involved. We're working to fill 8 student success plan co-chairs, and then those committees. There are a few other hiring committees that we're working on filling also. The Senate's holding elections for 3 chair positions that are up for re-election, as well as Faculty of the Year. Additional work being done. We're revising the faculty emeritus policy, finalizing the distance ed procedures. There's discussion on certificate earners walking at commencement. There's discussion on dual enrollment. There's continued work on the prerequisite procedures and discussion on the registration process. I don't know if I should have filed a separate option here, but I just did want to comment, as I'm the co-chair with Lisa Howell on this, the Foundation's 3030 campaign. We're the internal co-chairs, as you've probably read, but just to make it known, Internally, we're looking to raise $30,000 and get 100% participation from everyone at the college. And I just wanted to request that everyone chip in, whether it's $1 or $10,000. It'll all help out. I'm confident we'll hit the 30,000, but what's more important is 100% participation. And the cause couldn't be better. It's for our students. So thank you for the opportunity for the report.
Thank you, Douglas. I definitely think that it's important that we have 100% participation, and count me in.
Thank you.
But not for, what was that, $30,000? I don't think so. Faculty Association, Denise Diamond.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'm Denise Diamond, President of the Faculty Association and 15-year member of the English Department. The Faculty Association has been participating in all its usual committees, and in its newsletter also supports the internal campaign for the foundation. It's very important. The Budget Committee is producing a much clearer budget process with accessibility to all documents on the portal. The transparency in this process is greatly appreciated by the faculty. On a different note, there are issues with less than desirable transparency as it regards bargaining and as it regards dual enrollment. We have met with HR on a grievance related to violation of the contract with dual enrollment, and we have also met with the Senate Executive Board and asked them to place dual enrollment promptly on their agenda for the inclusive discussion that it requires. It is my understanding that today the board will be asked to support that the district bargain with the faculty on items of mutual agreement as per our contract language. The contract does call for mutual agreement and does include the option of not bargaining. In the history of the association, we have always bargained with the district, and the district has always bargained with us. To understand and respect this history is to understand something very important about the relationship between the faculty and the administration. We, the faculty, must bargain for our salary and working conditions. We take the process very seriously. We pay our association fees, we get training, and we receive staff support to follow labor law and protocol. For this bargaining cycle, we have respectfully met in a timely manner our obligations by announcing our team, sunshining to the board, and making our calendars available for what occurs every single spring, bargaining. There has been a lot of delay in getting specific responses from administration. Who is the bargaining team? When is the district sunshining? What are the district sunshine items? And what are the calendar dates? I cannot report to the faculty what administration is doing related to bargaining because I do not know. The part-time and full-time faculty consult as is required with their colleagues throughout the bargaining process until a contract is ratified. Ratifying a contract requires that faculty are on the job, not on vacation. Planning is critical. Communication is critical, no matter what the issues are. We are currently resolving this grievance, and we're waiting for clarification about bargaining. As a college community, we can and should do better. Again, I urge the board to support the shared history of mutual respect and vote yes to negotiate with the faculty for this season. Are there any questions?
Thank you. College of the Desert Adjunct Association, I understand that Julius Vargas is here to give the presentation. Thank you, Julius.
Good morning, guests. Good morning, Dr. Kinnaman, and good morning, board. My name is Julius Varga. I'm an adjunct faculty in the Automotive Technology Department, and I'm on the CODA executive, and I'm responsible for membership. This report has been prepared by the CODA president, David Bayshore, that I'll be reading this morning. CODA would like to thank Douglas Redmond for his support of adjuncts and for his efforts in involving adjuncts on the Senate standing and ad hoc committees. Adjuncts participate in very high and very appreciate the opportunity to contribute to this important college-wide function. Like Zarel Becker before him, he has demonstrated leadership, inclusion, and fairness. We would also like to recognize Dr. Robert Pallenberg, adjunct in geology, who will receive the WHO Award, and WHO stands for We Honor Ours, and that's presented by the CTA, and he will be receiving that in April. Robert is very active in college activities, including campus radio stations, mentoring the 50 STEM students, and accompanying 2 groups of STEM students to the national meetings in Washington, D.C. You may have seen that report. It hit the front page of the Chaparral. Bob is also the first adjunct to chair a Senate subcommittee. On a less pleasant note, CODA needs to express its frustration and disappointment over the delay in starting contract negotiations. While we submitted items for sunshining last November, we have yet to have one negotiating meeting. We have made numerous and repeated requests for meetings which have been either ignored or delayed with a wide variety of excuses. At this point, we are being asked to bargain in June, well past the end of the semester, and very near to the end of the academic year. We strongly object to this timing and hope that negotiations will begin in earnest very soon. Thank you very much. And are there any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oops. Okay, so it's bad enough that I'm coughing today, but I'm also hitting the microphone. Trustee O'Neill's not here to give a report, although I'm sure he'll be asking for double report time next month. Trustee Sanchez Fulton?
Oh, I'm first on
You're
this.
first.
Oh, okay. First of all, just happy St. Patrick's Day for the month, and it was wonderful to declare Women's History Month, and just in that spirit, it was awesome to College of the Desert and the International Student Club. I just want to give kudos to June for putting on a Girl Rising movie that was seen at the Pollack Theater, I believe, the day before yesterday. So I just want to thank the International Student Club. Last week, I attended the ASCOD meeting. It was wonderful to see these students. Carlos, I want to commend your leadership with the ASCOD and the ICC. It's wonderful to see these students so engaged and so involved, going to regional meetings outside of the campus and gaining those valuable leadership skills. I'm sure Trustee Andrew Campbell will mention elections are coming for the next term, but I just was there to congratulate them on their leadership, these great students representing our 10,000 students that attend College of the Desert. And I was just very fortunate to see them in action and attend that meeting. It's just a great thing to, these are our next leaders for the Coachella Valley, so it was just awesome. I attended the Adelante Latina Conference at La Quinta High School. It's a program for, I just want to give credit, before I explain the program, to Ken Lira. College of the Desert put on 3 workshops. And this is showing how College of the Desert is always out in the community. Not only did we have our staff, we also had COD leadership and our students giving one of the workshops. It was Alas con Futuro. that gave one of our workshops. So it was students giving other students the workshops. And it was wonderful because they came and they gave a beautiful, I went to that workshop as well, and they gave this awesome presentation on the AB 540. It was just so great to see students leading other students, and just, you know, and the students were engaged because they heard it from other students and their fellow peers. So that was just really neat to go to. I attended the DHS. Oh, also there was another professor, and I'm so sorry that she did another workshop, and it was called Pathways to PhD. So forgive me if I forgot your name, but what a great workshops. And just giving these young ladies the opportunity to take, and not just because she's from Berkeley, mind you, and that's my alma mater, but she was saying how it's possible to do that pathway to the PhD program. Wonderful. So please, I will try to get the name. So I just want to thank her. The DHS Women's Club Fashion Show, my times are going up, so a little more time because I'm already at half mark. I want to personally thank Leanne. I want to thank the College of the Desert for putting and donating the most needed gift basket. Desert Hot Springs Women's Club, we give a lot of student scholarships. As you know, based on that presentation, these are our numbers in our community. And a scholarship and what we do here coupled with that is wonderful. So I just want to personally thank College of the Desert for putting together a basket. It was so wonderful that we could promote our college to the other communities. Just really, it was, and we raised a lot of funds. Just also, I attended the Girl Scout. I'm a former Girl Scout, so we attended the Alumni Girl Scout of San Gregorio, March 4th. It was a luncheon, and just talking about the importance of leadership. You know, it's like when we sell cookies, it was our first experience in entrepreneurship. So it was wonderful to celebrate that. And the Girl Scouts, you know, it's just such a wonderful experience. We had some city council women and some other mayors come, former Girl Scouts. So I just want to give a shout out and thank you to the Girl Scouts of San Gregorio that do a lot of leadership for the Coachella Valley. And if you're interested in maybe partnering, I think our Girl Scouts, we need more Girl Scouts. So I attended, also announced the career, our job. I just want to give kudos to the job and career fair from 10 to 1. Having these career fairs are so critical for our students. It seems like only yesterday when I was in school, it was because of a career fair on campus that I was able to get my first internship. So I think it's awesome when we're able to give these on campus, and I want to thank publicly all the business community in the Coachella Valley for participating and giving that opportunity to our students that so need a job, an internship. I think it's wonderful, and just want to, on behalf of the college, give that. Also, I know we're all blue, Chairman, may I just want to finish? Some other wonderful thing was the opening of the Indio campus. I can't say much, but I just want to mention that again. It's just so nice to say we opened up that Indio campus, and I just wanted to use that time to just, what a great opportunity that we're able to do that. And most of all, I want to thank our 19 architectural students and Bert who brought them to Modernism Week. I really want to thank the College of the Desert Foundation for getting that relationship and having our students attend for the first time Modernism Week in Palm Springs. So they got to learn firsthand the history, the architectural history of the desert. So it doesn't, the history doesn't get lost. And I just want to mention, I think College of the Desert, we're such a jewel, because I learned something new about the college, which was we're the only community college in the United States that is done by modernist Dan Wexler, and that's our kudos through across the United States. And also attended a lot of the outreach yesterday with the foundation, the 30 to 30 campaign. So I was able to hit a lot of the outreach country clubs and talk about that. So we're taking a road show from the foundation and asking them to donate. So I just want to thank the foundation staff, Jim Hummer, for doing this and going out to the different communities. And now remember, if you want anyone to get a tour to our campus, contact the foundation and Peter, and he'll give this fabulous tour to any of your organizations. So they're doing some fabulous things there, and that's it. Just I want to thank you, and looking forward to our the LEAD conference that's coming up. The LEAD conference is the biggest for higher education out in San Bernardino. That's going to be March 26th at Cal State San Bernardino. Thank you so much for the opportunity to go above time.
Trustee Wilson?
Thank you. On February 13th, I attended the unveiling of the Health Assessment Resource Center assessment. This was a massive health survey that was done of the communities in the Coachella Valley, and the results were unveiled at a special meeting at Cal State San Bernardino. And we are, for the first time, I am a HARC board member, first time to be able to trend the health of our community, so it's very critical health information. I also enjoyed the incredible evening with Bernadette Peters at the McCallum. I don't see President Darby here, but I wanted to congratulate the foundation for the excellent work and the wonderful evening. It was just an incredible evening. February 21st, I attended the Laugh Lines at the Pollock Theater. What a great evening of solid comedy and satire. If you're able to go to these types of events, they're just wonderful, talented students, and I was able to talk with the cast afterwards. On February 25th, I attended the MESA program math and lecture series and listened to an excellent student presentation of their investigation of the PM emissions from the Sentinel power plant. These were 5 students. They did a really good job analyzing the air quality in the Coachella Valley. And as a result of that, I'm working with County Supervisor Benoit, who is a member of the South Coast Air Quality Management District Governing Board, to hear the student's presentation. So the AQMD board does come to the desert every year for their annual retreat, and I'm hoping to be able to coordinate a presentation to the governing board at that time. So I'm working on that. On February 26th, I attended the foundation board meeting. Again, thank you for the invitation to attend. Board member O'Neill is the assigned representative to that committee, but I do appreciate the opportunity to sit in and learn how the foundation works and how they function. And again, on the 28th, I did join my colleagues for the grand opening of the Indio campus. What an incredible day it was for all of us, just to see that finally come to fruition and to happen. I also attended a HOSA club meeting, a health occupation for Students of America, and to support my friend Dr. Glenn Grayman, who is the Vice President of Desert Healthcare District, and he's also a HARC board member. And he came in to talk about medical occupations to the students. So it was a very, very interesting meeting. March 11th, I attended the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting. It reviewed the status of the projects and financials from the bond. Trustee Sanchez-Fulton was also in attendance. There was some discussion about the facility master plan, and I have passed on those comments to the president. On the 13th, I attended a career and job fair. What a great day with more than 300 students and a number of employers from all over the Coachella Valley. And I did go around and thanked most of them for coming and talking with the students. And just want to thank Christine Schaefer for all the work in coordinating that event. It was just excellent. On the 14th, I went to the Pollock Theater and saw Buried Child, a production by Sam Shepard. What an intense play. Excellent acting. I met Trey Dean, who is the director and faculty member, and I was able to talk with the student actors afterwards. It was just a really great evening. I went home and I couldn't sleep for like 2 hours, but it was still a good, just excellent acting. On the 15th, there was College of the Desert night at World Affairs Council of the Desert at the Renaissance Esmeralda. There was a special speaker there on China. There were COD students there that were present with political science and economic majors. And Lisa was also there in attendance and gave the opening remarks, along with Donna Jean Darby and Peter with the foundation. So it was just excellent, excellent evening. Thank you so much. And then on the 19th, I went to open mic night at the Marx Gallery, which is now co-sponsored by Safe House of the Desert. Turnout was a little bit low, but it was fun. Thank you, Lisa. I see you in the back there. Thank you again for your work in coordinating that. And on the 20th, I did attend a planning meeting for our upcoming women's conference that is being coordinated by Jay Lewenstein, Friends of the Earth Committee, and Trustee Sanchez Fulton was also there. So he is the committee advisor and English teacher for that event. And with general harassment to our clerk of the board, that concludes my report.
Trustee Stefan?
Okay, this month I decided to do my report a little bit differently. This year I said that I was going to do a lot more listening, and with that comes reflection. And I know in the past you've heard many of us board members say that, you know, this is a big responsibility, which it is, and I'm sure you all realize that. And we've always commented that we don't get paid very much. But this last month, I reflected quite a bit on the things that I participated in. And I realized that it isn't the pay that I do this for, it is for the honor of being a part of this community. And I just wanted to say thank you to the community and the dedication, for their dedication and their commitment. I attended the Celebration of Life for Cheryl Imes. It's one of those touching moments, but as I reflected on that on my way home, I realized her dedication to this college was totally incredible. Without it, we would have so many holes here. And I thought, it isn't just Cheryl, it isn't just Denise Diamond in the back, it's not just Laurel, it's not just any of the people that I see here today, or any of the people I know, or any of the people that I've encountered since I was first elected. It's all of us. We're a conglomeration, and together we make College of the Desert, and we make it whole. I tell my students when they start in my reading program that somewhere along the line their education has, they missed something. That's why they're unable to read at the level they're supposed to be reading at. And that their education is kind of like Swiss cheese. It has holes in it. And I want everybody to think today that without you, without your commitment, without what it is that you've brought here, you might not realize how big a hole we would have here at College of the Desert without you. And so throughout my report today, I'm going to be doing reflections to that. I did attend the Riverside County Fair, and I judged at that. And the Lads and Lassies was February 20th at 5 p.m. And even those small children, talking to them on what they want to do in their future. I spoke with them about, you know, do you want to go to college? Where might you go to college? And I thought, if one part of their life was missing, if one part of their outfit were missing, it would be a major disaster. But if one part of their life, something is overlooked, what mistake that would be in our community, because they are so important to us. And attending Stepping Out for COD, another big event that we had this last month. I spoke with the students, many veterans, many of our public safety academy students, and I talked to them about their goals and about their past. And some of our veterans, it was amazing to hear some of their problems. And I was giving them my card so that they could bring their problems to me so that I could forward them on to the appropriate place, because it's important to remember they are also a part of that block of cheese. We don't want giant holes in our Swiss cheese. We want to have, if we have holes, we want little teeny tiny holes that we can mush together, kind of. And in fact, we would like to have I love cheese, so I would like to have a block of cheese that has no holes, you know. And they do make that kind of cheese. But, and this was Irish month, and I don't know if you're familiar with Irish Swiss cheese. It has very, very teeny tiny holes. So it was just an experience to talk with these students that bring so much to our college and our educational system here. The Indio campus, opening a new campus, we all know, if you've been here as long as I have, and I feel like the old lady in the shoe or something some days, it was a dream of mine when I started here to have our college accessible to everyone, not just Indio where I'm from, but to everyone in the Coachella Valley, because education is that critical. We don't want to leave holes in anyone's life. And this has taken forever to get us to this point. And I had gone down to see the campus earlier in the month and spoken with different people there. And there are problems. The whiteboards for the math teachers have graphs on them all. And I even walked into one class and I watched the math teacher trying to put the formula on, and it's very hard to read when you've got the lines on all the whiteboards, you know, when he's writing a formula up there. But those are little things compared to where we were in '99 when I ran, and we had no real campus. We were in little tiny classrooms on the high schools. And we had our classes full, and we had to turn students away. Yes, that's a hole. But it's something we can correct, because now we have the facility. We just have to change things a little bit more, streamline them. My own school, we did our annual scholarship fundraiser, the Zumba fundraiser that we have. And we made more money this year than we had ever made. And it's the public, it's students, it's faculty, it's staff, it's the people that drive by and tell us things that maybe we don't see. It's all that information rolled into one that we listen to and we try to make amends with, and we try to bring it all together and plug up all those holes so I can have more cheese. So, so I just wanted to relate to you that this month I realized that this is a great responsibility, sitting up here in front of you every month and doing what I do in between, and it's a lot of time commitment. But more than that, it is an honor for which I feel extremely blessed, and I just want to thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky, I wanted to make a comment. On that Indio campus, I taught we didn't have a campus. Before, I just want to tell it for the record, we had to teach without air conditioning in the Indio campus and little modules. So we had fans coming and we were giving those classes. So that kind of tells you to see that campus, how it is as an adjunct. And I want to always give credit to our adjuncts to be in these types of conditions in teaching. So to have a building.
Wonderful, yes.
With air conditioning.
Student trustee Campbell, we still haven't heard from, okay. Thank you, Bonnie. It's true. To serve in this position is a lot of work, and it's worth all of it because it's an opportunity for us to give back to our community, to open doors so that others can pass through. So it is an honor to serve in this position. Between last board meeting and this board meeting, it seems like time has flown. I can say that I did spend a number of hours at the fair. College of the Desert was well represented, and we are part of the community. One of our court scholarship winners was a COD student, and she heard the news during the fair that her COD credits had been accepted at the Cal Poly Pomona, and she will be moving on in the fall. She's sad to leave us and looking forward a little bit apprehensively at the next chapter of her life. I saw our KCOD t-shirts in many places there. I love that because we don't really get a lot of attention to that. But within the Battle of the Bands and the High School Madness and the youth events, our KCOD t-shirt was very prominent. The Indio grand opening was and is a dream. We've had several false starts, which those of us that know of them just kind of shudder when we remember, but that can be erased and we can look at this beautiful building where students have opportunity. I've had a lot of student feedback, and it's for the most part, positive. The other are small things that get worked out. You have a new building, you have those challenges. Our East Valley campus, our Mechathermal campus, is going strong with more classes being offered, with students being happy, with our new neighbor, the great farmer, making his presence known by putting in his infrastructure. So very soon we will have that, and as you know, having acres and acres of green next to you is a cooling effect. So we're all looking forward to that. It stop the wind, and it'll make the air cooler in a natural sort of way. Tonight, I'm looking forward to a Farm to Fork program where we have an opportunity to meet with the California Women for Agriculture, celebrate agriculture, as well as celebrate the scholarship, some more scholarships that are given within the valley. Often those scholarships go to students that are coming to College of the Desert. So it's very good to be part of our community. It's a great opportunity to represent our college. The rest of my report needs to be about chair stuff. You'll find in your binder, in the binder that we have here at the meeting, a copy of our mission, our vision, and our value statement. We also have the 2-year goals, a 24-month agenda that has been put together by our administrative team, and we have the college goals and KPIs, which are key performance indicators. Starting at the mission and the vision and the values, and thank you, I'm guessing that Leanne and Pam put this together, so thank you both so much. The mission is very clear. We went back and revised this mission statement some time ago, and well, a few years ago, not that long ago, but we pared it down to a few words. It has the same mission that this college has had since the inception. We simply stated it more precisely. We need to be sure that we think about this mission and that we continue to follow that path. Our vision restates our mission. It's what we see. But I don't want you to overlook the values. Everything that we do here, we need to look and be sure that it ties back to these values. That the College of the Desert is a learning-centered institution that values student success, diversity and inclusion, integrity, dedication, professionalism, communication, and lifelong learning. So we need to continue to reflect on those as we move through our business. I thank the President Superintendent for loaning us and letting us review this 2 years goals, a 24-month agenda. That is how he and his team see the advancement of student success at our college. As we review this, as we begin to look at our goals for this board, I believe that we can use their bold points as thinking about what our goal should be. We see this from a different angle, where our job is to set policy and to see the big picture. So we should look at this student success, planning and governance, and see it from our point of view as we put together our goals, so that we can be better leaders, so that it's more apparent to ourselves as well as to our community as to exactly where it is that we're going. So as we move toward putting those goals together, let's look at these. If we've overlooked a point there, well then it's not saying we can't add a goal. But I believe we'll find that these are pretty encompassing. The college goals, objectives, and key performance indicators are somewhat my fault, because that science background, I like to know if we have a goal and we have an objective, I like to know if we're getting there. So the key performance indicators will help us with that. So review those. We need to read them and reread them and keep them close to our hearts. But I would like to keep these stored in we could get more copies. Like to keep them stored in our board agenda, so if you forgot to bring it that day, you can reach in your notebook and pull it out and look at it, and to keep us focused and all, the college can move forward better and more efficiently if we continue to focus on where we're going. There have been some suggestions to even improve this. One has been to, we might consider putting our mission actually on our agenda. Someone else has suggested that some boards tie back their items on their agenda to items on our values. So there are things to think about. So I thank you for your indulgence of that business stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, if I may, give credit where credit is due.
Yes.
While I did put the copy of the 24-month agenda in your packets, I do believe that Pam and Hervé
They do.
responsible for how nice it looks.
All of that branding pretty much does say Pam and Reve. Yes, so thank you so much. My version that I copied out of the catalog doesn't look nearly that nice, but thank you. Administrative reports, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. You know, there's been several things that's been mentioned today, but we are, I just shared an accreditation visit, and it reminds you of the environment that we're in and how relevant and important it is that we operate in a culture of evidence, specifically when it relates to our students and their goals and outcomes that they know that they need to have. So as we're going through our dialogue, we'll continue to rely on a culture of evidence rather than relying on what individuals or groups may have views or perspectives of. So as we work with our research staff, I hope to strengthen that culture of evidence in our decision making. I am pleased, though, based on the accreditation visit I just went on, to be more familiar with the standards. Again, when you go, you're reminded of what those standards are all about. And want to congratulate our College Planning Council because they're very well prepared for our upcoming visit because they've went through a complete and full cycle tying our planning and budgeting and resource allocation and now assessment of that process, which is so critical. Another thing that's very relevant is our student success agenda and our student success plan as it mirrors what's coming down from the state in the future and state funding. Our Executive Vice President, Anna Davies, is leading up the charge of our student success agenda. Our student success agenda, again, will rely heavily on data. It will also rely on task force that will be co-chaired by faculty and administrators. And those task force, the way we envision at this point is looking at the pre-collegiate experience, the first year experience, the second year experience, and then our students, whenever they're ready to transfer or go to a CTE, if they've been in a CTE program, go into the workforce. So as we're looking at our students and all of our focus being on our student success agenda, those task force are going to be critical in identifying the key points, the key things that are going to make sure that the students that are here in Coachella Valley or happen to be here for educational reasons, that we put in place things that we know will work. I'd also like to mention that the foundation has done an exceptional job with the campaign. Those of you that, I still read the Desert Sun, and those of you that read the Desert Sun, you probably read an article about the Bernadette Peters event. And in that article, they noted that College of the Desert Foundation is one of two, if not one, the second foundation of relevance in the Valley, and that would be us and Eisenhower. That's significant in such a philanthropic community like we're in. I would like to acknowledge the co-chairs of that event, Joanne McGrath, Diane Gershowitz, for co-chairing it, and the Gershowitzes for opening their home prior to the event for an opportunity for us to talk about our campaign to raise $3 million in 30 days. And we also had a sponsor for the event, Gary Hall with Wells Fargo Bank being our primary sponsor. So again, there's so many in the community that recognize the relevance, the importance this college plays. In that campaign, there is a provision for innovation funds. We're trying to raise $200,000 for that, and now I'm wishing we would have put the number for that a little bit higher because we've reached the $200,000 for innovation funds. And as we've outlined that fund, we're looking at supporting student programs like a student ambassadors program. Also recognizing our students that are achieving well academically by providing additional support to Phi Theta Kappa, and implementing an innovation program that is geared for our employees, and especially teams of our employee groups that want to pursue pilot projects or other innovative programs that they may feel would have a significant impact on our students. Again, going on with the culture of evidence, the College Access Foundation has pumped in over $12 million to Coachella Valley in recent years. They've done that in conjunction with COD, our K-12 schools, and Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. And they're doing that to support a plan that's here in the Valley. It's called the Regional Plan for College and Career Readiness. And if you haven't seen a copy, it's worth going and taking a look at all the hard work over the past 5 years. And it aligns perfectly with what we're looking at with our student success agenda. The College Access Foundation continues to maintain a commitment to our community college and this community. And again, they rely heavily on data. And so we've been fortunate to be able to provide them with more information than we have in the past. And with that, I want to thank Dr. Neary. She's here on behalf of our Executive Vice President, with her being absent. One of the issues or things that we wanted to look at is there's been dialogue around commencement, and so it's interesting when you live in a small city, and I'm talking about the college right now. When you live in a small city, there's lots of perspectives and views. So with that recognition, there's a committee that's responsible for planning of commencement went to Dr. Neary and created a survey instrument to determine what will the data tell us. You know, if we go out there and do a survey, what can we learn? So with that, she is here as part of my report to provide you with survey results from our commencement survey. Dr. Neary?
Thank you. Hello? Okay. Thank you again. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. Thank you again, Dr. Kinnaman. Thank you, Executive and esteemed guests. I'm here to present the results of the commencement survey. Before I begin, I'll go ahead and pass out the handouts. So this is one of those surveys that on a daily basis, people wanted to know the results. And this survey was launched on March 7th, 14th. And it actually closed a week later on March 14th, 2014. And for a survey to be out for just a week, we received 448 responses. Huge, huge. And normally for survey responses, we're lucky to get even a 1 or 2%, let alone kind of these significant kind of constituent populations. So for example, out of the 448 responses, we received 95 faculty responses. Out of the staff responses, we received 64 staff responses. Student responses, huge. I think since I've been here, this is one of the largest student responses we've received at 256 student responses, 14 administration responses, and the remaining responses are from the Board of Trustees, former COD students that did not graduate or participate in our ceremony, and former COD graduates. And that's what the pie looks like in terms of respondents of the commencement survey. And you can see that the majority were the student responses. Now, one of the big questions on the survey was, where should commencement be? And there was a 1 through 5 option for 5 different venues. And the results of the survey are below. First choice was the McCallum Theater. Second choice was the Tennis Gardens. Third choice was the show at Agua Caliente. Fourth choice was Palm Springs Convention Center. And the fifth choice was our COD football field. Now, what did that look like in terms of the respondents? Now, what you're looking at here is the bottom 3 bars. First choice is in orange, second choice is in blue, and third choice is in purple. So you can see in the center where the McCallum Theater was a choice, it had the highest kind of in terms of a top 3 ranking, and even in the top 2. Second choice is followed by the Tennis Gardens at Indian Wells, and then third is the show at Agua Caliente. Now, the next kind of questions were 3 key questions. Students who earned a certificate only should not participate in graduation, and the choices were agree or disagree. Graduation should be held indoors rather than outdoors, agree or disagree. And the third question was the number of guests a graduate may have should be limited, agree or disagree. As you can see, that 66% disagree with the statement, students who earn a certificate only should not participate in graduation. In terms of graduation should be held indoors, 63% agreed that it should be held indoors, but 69% believe that the number of guests for the graduation should not be limited. And what did that look like in terms of groups? As you can see, students clearly carried the weight of the votes. If you looked at the COD student responses, 76.8% disagreed with the following statement: students who earned a certificate only should not participate in graduation. In terms of graduation should be held indoors, 64.4% agreed that it should be held indoors. And then 71% of the student responses believe we should not limit our guests for graduation. And part of the discussion was the kind of faculty and staff response. As you can see, there was a bit of a split favoring the agree. For faculty, it was just under 56% who agreed with the statements that students who earned a certificate only should not participate, whereas 44% disagreed with that statement. In staff, the gap is even smaller. A little over 51% disagreed with that statement, whereas 48% disagreed with that statement. So that's kind of what that picture looks like. So you can see that for the first questions, in terms of students who earned a certificate only should or should they not participate, the majority fell with the disagree. Graduation should be held indoors, the majority fell within the agree, and then number of a guest of a graduate that should be invited should be limited, and majority was disagree. And some of the other questions were if we had some close ties between the constituent groups of faculty, staff, board of trustees, current students, or past graduates. What we would have done is filtered based on people who have participated, who haven't participated, but because there was some clean percentage differences and a large sample, we actually didn't delve that deep. Thank you.
Dr. Neary, thank you. And my understanding is now at this point, the information will go back and be provided to the accreditation committee, and then we can get some recommendations made. You know, there's a lot of factors that play into these as far as from availability of venues to other things, so we've got still some more research to do, but we wanted to make sure that the board receive the results, as there have been some interest requested by individual board members.
And Trustee O'Neill and Student Trustee Campbell aren't here today. If they could be provided a printed copy, it would be nice. Thank you.
And then in closing of my remarks, I had a letter I would like to share, and it says, "Dear Dr. Kinnaman, please convey my appreciation to the College of the Desert Board of Trustees for their resolution in honor of my sister, Cheryl Imes. On behalf of myself and her entire family, please know it is deeply appreciated. When Cheryl became part of the faculty at College of the Desert, she felt she had achieved her career goal. She truly loved working with the students and staff at the college. If her life had not been cut so short, she could have provided many more years of service doing the work that was her calling. Sincerely, Liz Gordon." That ends my report.
Very nice. Thank you. I believe we have enough time to deal with the consent agenda, or at least the beginning of it, before we go to closed session and our break. So all items on the consent agenda will be considered for approval by a single vote without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be pulled from the consent agenda to be discussed and considered separately in the action agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I would like to pull an item from the agenda.
Okay, I'm looking at my parliamentarian. Do I not need a motion and a second, and then we pull? Okay, just,
I second.
So moved.
so we have a motion from Aurora and a second?
For me.
Okay. That we approve the consent agenda. Now, going back to Aurora,
I would like to pull item 7 under Human Resources.
okay, is there anything else? And then I need a reminder about a correction we made. Okay, do you have something that you want to pull?
Yes, I do. I don't know if it's under administrative areas, the action item. I'd like to pull that one. Is that still?
Which item is it?
Excuse me, yeah. Under administrative services.
Which item is it? Is it out-of-state? That one?
Yeah, I just want some clarity on that.
I think it's.
Yeah, number
Item
5.
five.
I'm sorry, item
Okay.
5. I just
Okay.
wanted some clarifications.
So, just because I'm dense and I'm running the meeting, let's pull that item and then we can talk about it. Okay, and then I need to bring some clarification. Thank you. I asked Mr. Dupree to remind me. If you'll remember, we made a change to the agenda. It was actually a correction. Under Human Resources Item 2, there was a typo that was corrected. That was listed that there would be 40 hours when it should have in fact read 29.5 hours. It's a typo. I have the corrected version. The other board members have the corrected versions, and he placed some of the copies for the public at the back of the room. So I think that we all know that we may vote for that, but what we're voting is for indeed the corrected typo. Okay, so with those 2 items being pulled, and are we clear on what items are being pulled? Okay, with the 2 items being pulled, that being Human Resources number 7 and Administrative Services number 5, I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's a unanimous vote. I hear that is a unanimous vote. The motion passed unanimously, and it is now 12 o'clock. I'm going to adjourn to closed session. Is that correct? Recess to closed session. See, that's why he gets paid the big bucks to be our parliamentarian. We will be back at 1:30. No, I couldn't live without him, that's for sure. It is an honor, that's right. We'll be back at 1:30. As we return from closed session, I do have a quorum again. I do have an item of action to report out on a motion made by Trustee Stefan and seconded by Trustee Wilson. The board, in closed session, after consulting with district staff and legal counsel, took action to approve a proposed settlement of RAN Enterprises, Inc.'s claims alleged in connection with the athletics facility project in the sum of $30,000. The board authorizes administration to execute the settlement agreement on behalf of the district. The motion carried with 4 ayes, no nays, and 1 absent. This motion carried. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So the next item is introduction of new full-time staff.
Thank you, Trustee Rodden. We have 2 new employees to introduce you to today, and if I could ask them both to come forward, please. The first is Mr. Gene Duran. Gene is the interim employee relations manager and human resources, and the second in the back of the room, if you'd like to come forward, Cy, so that we can see you better, is Cy Vang. She is the executive administrative assistant, institutional effectiveness, educational services, and planning, and so we welcome you both. Happy to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for that. We welcome you, and it's so nice to have
May I
faces
interrupt?
but with names. Yes.
I may have missed one person. There may have been
Shame on
miscommunication. In the back of the room, Gary, are you back there?
Gary's back there.
Please stand up, come forward as well. Gary Plunkett is our new athletic director, has been with us a month or 2. We also welcome him to the family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I dig through my papers and try to not get them out of. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, now we move on to action items. The first item on the agenda of action items are items pulled from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. The first item that was pulled is the human resources, which is B7, number 7, classified 60-day layoff notice resolution. Are my speakers here? Okay, have I lost them? No, I have them here. Oh, okay. Okay, so I believe we need a motion to consider this item. Do I have such a motion?
So moved. Second?
I have a motion and a second. Before there's any discussion, I would like to have these people that wish to come forward to speak on this item. The first person on this list is Stella Baker. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Stella Baker. I've been an adjunct librarian since 2006. In addition to providing reference and research assistance during on-desk hours, I'm also the librarian liaison to the School of Health Sciences and Education. Further, in 2009, I was the interim library director. Prior to having an administrative assistant, running the library was largely controlled chaos. It was no single person's job to handle all of the administrative details that make a library run. As a result, many people did a little of this and a little of that, and what couldn't get done was lost under this crazy quilt of inefficiency. It's different when someone is minding the store. Service improves because library faculty and staff can concentrate on the job for which they were hired. A few examples of tasks handled by an administrative assistant: timesheets, load sheets, building problems, routine supplies, equipment problems, sudden staff absence, budget and bills, draft schedules, and more. Let me give a personal example. In the first 6 weeks of this semester, I taught research sessions to over 300 students in 13 different classes. I only work 11 hours a week, and 8 of them are on the reference desk, where my first priority is walk-in and telephone questions. So I spoke to our administrative assistant. Her immediate response: "How can I help?" Valerie made sure I had my handouts, even if she had to copy them herself. She did the paperwork, so I was paid for those class visits. She checked with me regularly, always offering to help. When I could focus on the job that I was hired to do, teach and serve, I could be a better librarian, and our students were the ultimate winners. This example makes me think about the 300+ adjuncts. Without an administrative assistant to manage the Faculty Resource Center, who will run it? Losing this administrative assistant position will surely affect them all. The layoff notice resolution lists 2 reasons for this action: lack of work or lack of funding. I can attest there is no lack of work. And given the number of recent full-time hires, I can only conclude that there is also no lack of funding. I wonder why we are losing an effective and efficient answer to that crazy quilt of inefficiency we used to operate under. I respectfully urge this board to carefully consider the impact of removing this administrative assistant position. Thank you for your time.
Stella, since you very efficiently typed in your request to address the board, I might assume that your comments were also in a form that they could be included with our minutes.
Yes, if you would like them.
If you wish. It's your pleasure.
Okay.
I can't really ask you to do that.
No,
That's your pleasure.
if it will in any way help this board consider this issue, I would be more than happy to make them available. What is the mechanism for that? I will do that. Thank you.
Next person would be Mary Lisi.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mary Lisi. I am on the CSEA board. I've been there about just over 11 years. And frankly, I was stunned when I read that there was going to be a layoff of this support position in the library. My first thought was, are we closing the library? Because this is the only position that supplies administrative services to this department. So then I thought, well, we can't be closing the library because we're going to be moving it over to the Hilb Center. So that couldn't be it. So then I thought maybe this was a knee-jerk reaction to losing the supervisor in the library. And oftentimes you think, well, there's no supervisor, so we don't need the administrative assistant. But I can tell you that administrative assistants don't sit there all day and just wait for the supervisor to tell them what to do. Valerie is running the library. She is helping with the Friends of the Library department. She works with the budget. She works with the vendors. She buys the books. She does the library book orders. Watson label products, library patron and book barcodes. All of the things that are directly related to clerical services for the library, Valerie does them all. Without Valerie, those jobs cannot be done. She's, like I said, the only staff member in the library who does these things. The other classified staff members over there are library technicians. So we have staff that report to supervisors who are not in the direct area, and my suggestion would be that because this work isn't going to go away unless the library goes away, that she be simply transferred to a different supervisor who can, keep track across campus of her timesheets or whatever questions she may have. But I definitely think that we should leave this position intact. We're going to need it. We're going to need it even more during the change over to the Hilb Center, because even though the bond office is doing all of the the construction and all of the work to get the Hill Center ready, it's going to be Valerie who says what color the furniture needs to be and where to put the books. This is the stuff this is the mundane stuff that the classified staff do, and we do it proudly and we do it happily. And I strongly suggest that we not lay off this position. Thank you.
Next person on this list is Cynthia Garcia.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Garcia, and I'm a classified person at the college library. I'm here to express the concerns of myself and my fellow classified staff about losing the library's administrative assistant position. There are 2 reasons given for this action in the board packet, and I can only speak to one of them, which is lack of work. The library's admin assistant performs many tasks behind the scenes to support the smooth functioning of the library that are not part of the library's classified staff's job descriptions. Besides supporting the library, our admin also oversees the Faculty Resource Center, which is regularly serviced a minimum of twice a day under her direct supervision. And this Faculty Resource Center, as Stella mentioned, provides essential services to over 300 adjunct faculty. Having a library administrative assistant allows us, the other classified in the library technicians, to concentrate on our main focus, which is to provide direct services to the students that come into the library, which help them to succeed in their college classes. This includes things like purchasing and making available reserved textbooks each semester. It includes helping students locate needed items in the library itself. And we also assist students with computer, Blackboard, and WebAdvisor issues. Everything we do on the front desk and in the back is to support student success and the success of them in their chosen field, in their chosen classes. And without an admin assistant to provide the ongoing stuff that we don't deal with in the background, it's going to make it harder for us to actually perform these duties. And all I do is I ask that you give this matter careful consideration before reaching a decision. Thank you.
And the next person would be Lauro.
First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the board for pulling this item from the consent agenda to the action agenda so that we could have this discussion. Thank you. We have a history of defending a CSCA, even vacant positions that, to borrow a metaphor earlier, leave a hole in the Swiss cheese of this campus. And we will not hesitate to take measures should CSCA find that Valerie's work is to be done by someone other than her in that position. One of the things that I've been told and have heard is, again, as you've heard earlier, that administrative assistants are only those that report to deans. However, when Juan Lujan was demoted from dean to director, and even now under Scott Cooper as a director of the Indio campus, there's an administrative assistant there, Marianne. In maintenance, Donna Wells has for many, many years reported to her director as well. In IT's reorganization, likewise, when Bina Isaac was moved from dean to CTO, Pam Chapman also reports to a dean. I would concur with Mary Lisi's suggestion that if it's a question of reporting for administrative assistants, that there is still the opportunity for that administrative assistant to either report to a future manager in the library area or to report up a level to the executive dean over the area. The other thought that I've also considered is that when we were in negotiations regarding the confidential executive administrative assistant positions for the vice presidents, we were a little confused because there were 2 vice presidents, and so we thought there was originally 2 executive administrative assistants. Well, since that was going to be reduced to 1 executive vice president, our thought was surely then there's only need for 1, but district insisted that there would be a need for 2 because there were still the functions, so irregardless of whether there was the 2 managers there. And we, of course, not being able to be there in those positions, we decided to go ahead. And when we did our negotiations to work out the movement of those confidentials, we did agree. We're in the meantime also waiting for, in that agreement, we had agreed that the district was going to create a new executive administrative assistant position in the CSEA bargaining unit. We're still waiting for that to happen. We'd be really concerned if the duties of Valerie Stiff were to move to one of those positions, because that was not the intent at all. We thank you very much for your attention in the matter, for taking the time to listen to public comment, and ultimately we look for your wisdom in making this decision, difficult as it may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I didn't tell each of you, but I will remind you that if you wish for your comments to be attached to the minutes, you know the procedure better than I do. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now this item was pulled by Aurora, by Trustee Wilson. Do you have any discussion?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, yeah, is there any other discussion? President Kinnaman, do you have anything to speak to this?
No, I have no other additional information.
Okay. So what we're considering, I'm looking to see if I understand it. I believe what I'm reading is it's a 60-day layoff notice. It is the law that we have such a notice if we might lay someone off.
That's correct.
And it does not necessitate that we will lay them off.
That's correct, too.
Okay. So within this time, we, the administration, that's sort of the Queen's we in this case, could review these comments that have been given to us and be sure that I know this is actually part of reorganization. So we need to be sure that all these different things are covered and that we've given careful consideration to it.
Yes, we will continue to review during this period.
Okay. Now, is there any other comments? Okay. So I'm looking at that from that angle, that what we're doing is giving a 60-day notice, and that during that time this will be reviewed. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? I think reluctantly aye.
Aye.
Nays?
No.
Okay, we have two ayes and 2 nays. The motion does not carry.
Okay.
The next item that was pulled was out-of-state country travel. I don't believe there was anyone to speak to that. But Mary Jane, you pulled this item. Do you wish to speak to it?
Joel, it's regarding
Wait a minute, I messed up. I'm sorry, my mistake. I have to actually get it on the table. So, my parliamentarian's given me the aye. So, do I have a motion that, for item with C, Administrative Services, number 5, out-of-state country and travel, that was formerly on the consent item is now on the table. Do I have such a motion?
So move.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Now, I'm sorry. Now it's your turn.
I just wanted to hear.
What was your first, put out your question? What?
The question was about, your travel, President Kinnaman. You've been kind of gone, so I'm just concerned that another time you're gone, and just can you tell me a little bit about that organization? I'm new still. So.
Sure. This is a National Association of Administrators typically, CEOs from community colleges annually gather in a symposium type way in DC, and they look at current issues facing community colleges. They also take that opportunity to lobby in DC, meet with their elected representatives, and try to get any type of support for their areas that they may be able to get. So that is what this annual conference is. And then in addition, yes, I was at an accreditation visit just last week, and that's, I think, just part of the dues that you pay for being a community college employee.
Is this the first time you attend this conference on behalf of the College of the Desert?
It is, yes.
Okay, that's all. I mean,
And is this one of the opportunities that the CEOs have to interact with our representatives or the staff of our representatives?
Yes,
So
it
we
is.
get to sell the importance, I'm thinking it's a good chance to sell the importance of community college.
Yes, we do lobby, or we do advocacy, I should say, while we're there.
Right. Yes, no, you don't lobby, would be bad, yes.
I just
Is that-
wanted,
okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? I'm hearing that as a unanimous aye vote. Okay, now maybe I can work my way through the rest of this. Reduction of, okay, separate. Okay, President, receive the accreditation follow-up and midterm report for the first reading.
Yes, we need a motion, she said.
Oh, we do need a motion. Do I have a motion that we receive the College of the Desert's accreditation follow-up and midterm reports for first time reading?
So move. Second?
I have a motion and a second. Thank you for keeping me on track. Do we care to hear the presentation, I'm hoping?
yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, great. Again, I would like to thank Dr. Neary for being here to provide an update on this. Dr. Neary does serve as our accreditation liaison officer and has been working with faculty and staff on this report. So, Dr. Neary, if you would.
Thank you again, Dr. Kinnaman. Again, thank you for the chance to present. Chair, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kinnaman, executive, and esteemed guests. Before I begin on the update on accreditation reports, I'm passing out a document called the Rubric for Evaluating Institutional Effectiveness. So for those of you who aren't as familiar with accreditation, there's kind of three buzzwords that we use: program review, student learning outcomes, and resource allocation, as well as institutional effectiveness. And what you have are more detailed rubrics and information based from ACCJC on kind of those definitions and those standards of proficiency. And you'll see us use that dialogue in this presentation as well. So again, this is an update on accreditation reports. Co-chairs of the ACCJC work group were myself and Bert Bitanga. And this is a presentation, of course, to the Board of Trustees. Now, upcoming accreditation reports for 2014 included the follow-up report, the midterm report, the annual report, and as you all know, accreditation is an ongoing process. Now, putting a team together, an ACCJC work group should be representative of the college campus. And in this case, the faculty representatives were appointed by the Academic Senate. The classified staff representative was appointed by the CSEA representative group as well. And leadership representatives were appointed as well based on kind of their skill set. Carlos Maldonado, student liaison, Daniel Martinez, head of research and institutional effectiveness as well, and Amanda Phillips, who sat on outcomes and assessment as the subcommittee of the Senate for a number of years. So again, the co-chairs were Bert Bitanga and myself. Now, the follow-up report was one of our priorities. It was due March 15th, 2014. It was a follow-up on the recommendations of the July 3rd, 2013 ACCJC letter, and there was 2 recommendations, Recommendation 1 and Recommendation 5. As a result of the integration of the evidence and the writing, Recommendation 1 has 27 pieces of documented evidence, and Recommendation 5 has 6 pieces of documented evidence. Now, before I get into Recommendation 1, I'll give you an opportunity to read it, but accreditation, a full self-study is done every 6 years. If there's recommendations within a visit, then we do follow-up reports to address the recommendation. And again, as I stated earlier, there was 2 recommendations from the last visit. And the other report I'll talk about in a while would be the midterm report, which is done in between the 6-year cycle. So Recommendation 1, in order to increase effectiveness, the team recommends that the college complete the implementation of the comprehensive planning process by responding to the analysis of assessment results to ensure improvement in student learning. Such a process integrates the various college plans, is informed by quantitative and qualitative data and analysis, systematically assesses outcomes with both instruction and non-instructional services, and provides for an ongoing systematic cycle of goal setting, resource allocation, implementation, and evaluation, which is primarily standard 1B, which is institutional effectiveness. But what did the visiting team mean by that? They meant that we had to accomplish our own planning process. We had to assess that planning process. And then we had to demonstrate how those 2 linked to how we allocated resources. Specifically, the visiting team had these comments to Recommendation 1. The college has initiated a college planning council and planning and institutional effectiveness process. However, the implementation of the think tanks at the college to facilitate a broad-based dialogue on the state fiscal crisis interrupted the implementation of the PI process. Additionally, the assessment of student learning was not consistent for all programs, and the process to fund resource requests was unclear. And then a culture of evidence or research capacity did not appear to be sufficient. As a result, planning appeared to be a work in progress rather than an accomplished process. So I highlighted in red what they were pinpointing in. We didn't follow our own process. We have to assess our process, and that was inconsistent. And we have to show that resource allocation was connected to those 2 items, and at the same time have documented evidence and research capacity demonstrated throughout this cycle. So highlights of the evidence of Recommendation 1. We actually completed 2 PI cycles within the last term. Again, thanks to the hard work, primarily the Academic Senate, the instructional deans, the Office of Executive VP, support, and from the staff. These teams met frequently for long hours to kind of complete 2 cycles out of our own cycle year. So normally this is a year process, and we completed 2 of them within 1 term. And I wanted to highlight some of the evidence of Recommendation 1, which pinpoints on qualitative and quantitative data analysis as well as information from our own program reviews. It's all about evidence. Here is evidence 1.15. It's a summary of the instructional equipment prioritization. Instructional deans with their chairs and with their respective departments took the equipment prioritized from the program reviews and took it back to their departments and schools and prioritized at their units. Then they brought that information back to larger bodies that encompass the executive vice president, the academic senate executive, department chairs, as well as the instructional deans to kind of look at the instructional equipment based on 7 criteria and based on information in the program review to prioritize instructional equipment. The reason this was closed is this information was passed through the subcommittee of the College Planning Council, which is assessment and planning of outcomes, as well as the College Planning Council. And after review of the information from program reviews and the criteria used, the president funded all instructional equipment on this list, and other instructional equipment that was not on the list was not funded through this process. Another highlight was our second cycle following our own PI process. So similar to equipment prioritization, instructional deans, department chairs, and the respective departments receive their information in the program reviews, prioritize their positions using information from program review as well as quantitative data, which I'm about to show you as well. Actually, this is, the quantitative data that was received. So student success rate, retention rate, load ratios, and that information was received along with the program review information and scoring criteria sheet. So there was 3 key pieces of data used in here. Program review, which encompasses student learning outcomes, quantitative data, and criteria in terms of accounting for qualitative data. And you can see some of the factors that were considered when the group prioritized were compliance, the student success recommendations, the transfer mission, CTE mission, certificate mission, emerging industry needs. It also included future relationships with the community, including dual enrollment and high school pathway, as well as labor demand and service for off-site areas. And for those of you who maybe are not as familiar with accreditation, those 2 documents are key points of evidence that support data-informed, transparent cycling of a planning process. Closing the loop. Here, as you can see, in terms of faculty prioritization, the president announced which positions would be funded. He put in his email, this email is it's one of the best pieces of evidence in terms of a completed cycle, because he's going to explain to the college community why these positions were funded. It was based on annual program review updates. He actually recognized the people who participated in the process and acknowledged that there was a more comprehensive list, and that out of the 14, these were chosen. And then he went ahead and acknowledged that there was data used, internal data, ratios, success, persistence, and so forth. And then that is, again, completing the cycle in a very integrative and transparent way. Recommendation 5. In order to meet standards, the team recommends that the district develop and implement appropriate policies and procedures that incorporate effectiveness in producing student learning outcomes into the evaluation process of faculty and others directly responsible for student progress towards achieving student learning. So this is about addressing student learning outcomes in the evaluation process. CTA, CODA, and CSEA actually worked with human resources and negotiations to include student learning outcomes as a component of their self-evaluation. And in CTA, I believe, in terms of classroom observation, student learning outcome is also a component of that. And again, with the 3 unions and the district working together to impact student learning and student learning outcomes. The second report due was the midterm report, also due at the same time, March 15, 2014. It is the midpoint of our accreditation cycle, and we address the progress of the ACC-JC recommendations, which we have already addressed in follow-up report, and we also address any progress on self-identified planning agenda issues. Normally in a single year, you can combine the follow-up report into the midterm report, but we had a specific request to separate the 2. So the first part of the midterm report is essentially the follow-up report. Now, in terms of self-identified issues or a planning agenda, we as a college self-identified issues that we would work towards meeting or exceeding an accreditation standard. And as you can see, the majority of our own planning agenda items, we actually link to our planning process and the implementation of our planning process. So what made the report an easier read is most planning agenda items were answered with the response to recommendation 1. So summary of progress, we always kept the working documents on the portal, meaning reports and evidence, and I'll show you an example of that. And actually, right during this lunchtime, the ACC-JC work group met to review the it's about a 3 or 4 minute video of this process and this presentation, as well as the final reports that we will be sending out to the entire college community as well, so that they have the opportunity at any level to participate in the accreditation process. The final documents are posted on the website under the ACCJC button on the homepage. The ACCJC work group continues to modify documents. The next document we're working on is the annual report. Again, we worked on that today. And again, accreditation is an ongoing process. Now, people sometimes when they're working with drafts don't preserve the drafts, but one of the best pieces of evidence is how you improved a draft to make it a final document. So on the portal under ACCJC, we always had a draft copy of the midterm report and the follow-up report. And along with those draft reports, there was evidence folders on the portal that if you wanted to look up a piece of evidence associated report, you could easily find it there and drill down, and you can see how many pieces of evidence we have up on the website. I just want to thank the ACCJC work group, again, co-chair Bert Batanga, Carol Lasquade, Doug McIntyre, Wendy Sanders, Lisa Socio, Tom Jones, Carlos Maldonado, Daniel Martinez, Amanda Phillips, and all the departments who assisted in providing input and evidence. Thank you again.
Excellent, thank you so much. Is there any questions or discussion?
I think this is a wonderful document. In the spirit of open and transparency for our college, I want to thank everyone that was involved. What a beautiful presentation, Dr. Neary.
I know that a lot of work went in this, and having been involved occasionally looking at the trustee side of accreditation, I commend you all for all those hours of hard work. Because accreditation is an ongoing process, and because some of our trustees are new, because others of us need to be reminded, if we could have a regular update, I don't mean a wonderful in-depth presentation, but just sort of a where we are this month report, it would really be good, because it'll keep us not just in the loop, but reminded that it is an ongoing process, and that from the outside one may think that you get accredited and it goes away, and 4 years later someone comes and knocks on your door, but it's for sure not that way. And that is the beauty of accreditation, is we continue to improve ourselves. So thank you very much. I need to call, if there is no further discussion, I need a vote to say that we receive this. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hear that as unanimous aye vote. Motion carried. Administrative services, a public hearing on categorical flexibility for the fiscal year 2013-2014. I keep trying to change the years on that. The public hearing is now open. If there's anyone wishing to speak, please step forward. You're such a good help.
What section? Number C.
This is longer than it.
Madam Chair, we're on item C.
Yes, we are.
Number 1, public hearing?
Yes,
Okay.
we are. And we were seeing if there was any public that was poised to come in, but wasn't quite queued up yet. But there being no one, the public hearing is now closed. Here Bonnie likes to hammer that. So the next item is the adoption of Resolution 031214-1, categorical flexibility for the fiscal year 2013-2014. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? You want to explain to us?
Certainly, happy to. During the fiscal crisis, there was provisions that were basically relaxed flexibility for categorical programs. And so this is a requirement if you plan to use that option. So we're just keeping our options open at this point. When we go to close our books, if we so need to use this flexibility, then we will invoke it at that time and provide a full report.
Okay. So, as I understand it, if we fail to adopt this resolution, we lose that flexibility. If we vote to adopt the resolution, we retain the flexibility, but we are not forced in any way required to use it.
We would be moving $1.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's correct.
So, I have a motion, a second. We've had a nice presentation. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote.
Okay, Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Trustee Broughton.
Aye. Now we move, with that motion having carried unanimously, we move into a public hearing regarding an energy conservation contract. The public hearing is now open. If anyone wishes to speak, please come forward.
Because it just does. But I promise I won't sing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate you not singing, Trustee.
Everybody would leave. Whole valley.
Say we have 8 seconds.
Said it late though.
I know they said it late, but we'll give them the whole time.
That's because you didn't want any chance for me singing.
Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. I would entertain a motion that we adopt Resolution 032114-2, an agreement for energy conservation services. Do I have such a motion?
So move.
Second?
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify, is this also going to address some of the lighting issues we have in the front parking lot?
I'm seeing a no from Mr. Renew, who's able to speak and answer questions on this particular item.
Okay.
No, the lighting part of this project has been vetted by the Chancellor's Office Engineering Group, and the parking lot lights weren't built at that time. So this is about a 2-year process coming to conclusion now. This is walkway and parking lot lighting, high-pressure sodium lights that will be replaced with LED retrofit kits.
Okay. Because as you know, that lighting is still a kind of an issue.
Right. Well, this is focusing on energy conservation,
Right,
so
I understand.
that's how it qualified for both the incentive and the Prop 39 funding.
So could you give us an idea of which parking lots and the walkways? Generally, we're not going to be punitive if you miss one. Just-
Right. In all, there are about 400 lights in the parking lots and the walkways. About 130 or so are walkway lighting. shorter poles, different intensity of lighting. So the intent is that Proposition 39 continues on for another 4 years, and if we like the way these lights go in and they actually prove the lighting, we would do just the walkway lighting of about 130, and because of the funding, there's a little bit left over, so we've got maybe 15 or 20 lights that we'll pick in a parking lot and put those in. Everything moves forward. We've already applied for the next year's funding. If we do like the way the lights work and they're actually proving the energy savings as we believe they will, then we'll move with the entire rest of the parking lot lighting through in next year, 14, 15.
So we should be, once we've completed the first phase of this project, we should be able to assess if there's truly a significant energy
Yes.
reduction.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
So, we have this motion on the table. Yes? Okay. Is there any other discussion? If there is none, this is a resolution. Roll call.
Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Trustee Broughton.
Aye. So the motion carries unanimously. The next item is adoption of Resolution 03-2114-3, Public Agency Retirement Services Supplementary Retirement Plan and approve agreement with PARS. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'm happy to handle this one as well. Earlier in the agenda, the board authorized the district to move forward with the exploration of a early retirement, supplemental retirement program. And as you know, notices have been sent out to the qualified employees or eligible employees. And they have, I believe, until April 11th to respond whether they're interested. We have, the HR office has been coordinating meetings to make sure everybody has received appropriate information to make an informed decision. And this item here is just approving the agreement to offer this plan. Basically, the components of this specify the scope of services and also the payments that would be required, but also a minimum payment should the board and college decide not to move forward if it's not in the best interest from a financial standpoint or other factors. So that's what this is. We do have a representative, Mr. Eric O'Leary from PARS, in the audience today, if you have any further questions.
Okay, I'd like to recap what I believe I hear, that we as a college are investigating the possibility of offering a retirement plan. Okay, and that we're putting out the information as to those persons that would be eligible for that, should they be interested. And that we've also put out the information that should they say they're eligible and the college decides it's not in their interest to, for the college to do this early retirement, then those individuals do know that there wouldn't be a punitive action or anything. So we're both exploring, we being the college, the administration side, and they being the possible retiree side. We're both exploring this possibility.
That's correct.
And that we today are saying, are acknowledging that should, after all of this comes to the end and the college decides it is not going to go through with this, then we owe this sum of $5,000 to this
correct.
organization.
That's correct.
So I think I've recapped it. So discussion, questions now? None? Okay. Hearing none, I have a motion and a second on the table, and this is a resolution, so it's a roll call vote.
Okay. Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Trustee Broughton.
Aye. The motion carried unanimously. Okay, I love all of these resolutions. Adoption of Resolution 03-2114-4 of the Board of Trustees of the Desert Community College District approving, authorizing, and directing execution and delivery by the district of documentation, including lease documents to and from the Desert College Financing Corporation. There's no, okay. In connection with the financing and refinancing of the construction and development of certain district facility in Indio, and authorizing and directing the execution of necessary documents and taking certain actions with respect thereto. Hope that was something
That was
close
a
to
lot.
what was actually written there. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution as presented?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I thank you for that being there in title, and also for the board accepting it to be read in title only. So, is there any discussion?
I have a discussion. I think something in this nature, I think I would love to see our legal counsel kind of look at that, because there's a few questions that I have, and I think it would be in the best interest of the district, community college district, to look at this further. So I'm asking the board to just make sure that our legal counsel looks at it, and he has agreed, I believe, and but it's based on our board members to see if that they would we could look at this at our next board meeting. That legal counsel looks at this further.
Have we not
Our
had
own
legal
our
counsel look
legal
at this?
counsel.
I'll defer to Lisa and see if district council has reviewed this or not.
District council, we actually have counsel that is an expert in this area and anticipating questions, because it's a very complicated item. I have our consultant, Mr. David Cohan, from Peaks Company, that I would ask to bring and answer any questions that you have. I would caution the board, if we do postpone, the transaction will not close. There is a minimum $1.7 million at stake here. That will come to the college. I'll let David go into really the transactional piece of it, and what we're approving today, and whether there are risks or not. So with that, I'll turn it over to David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howell, and to the board, Madam Chairman, President Kinnaman, thank you for inviting me back again. I can describe to you that very long introduction on the resolution. What you're being asked to do today is simply pass a resolution on a validation process. There's nothing, probably not surprising to anybody, in the education code that makes allowances for a new market tax credit transaction to occur. So as West Hills Community College and other groups often do, they simply want the administrative process to receive a judicial nod of approval, a validation process in the state of California. And to do that, we need to have a board resolution saying these are the administrative steps that you'll be taking. And when the court reviews that, as they do after a 60-day period, they'll simply sign off on that. And there's nothing, it basically bulletproofs the board and the college from having anybody be able to come back and say this was not done in a correct administrative way. And that's all we're really doing today, is looking at that. As part of that, you're getting into the complexities and some of the guts, if you will, of a new market tax credit transaction. And I'd be glad to describe any and all of it for you, or to make certain sense of it for you if you have any specific questions. Oh, and I can also let you know that on the college's behalf and the district's behalf, there are 2 sets of counsel. There have already been 4 sets of counsel total, 2 on behalf of the college and the district hired specifically to look at all these documents. They've been looked at, approved, vetted, gone back and forth. So they've actually been looked at by 4 sets of very competent new markets counsel, 2 of which has already been on behalf of the college, that the college has paid for.
The reason why I wanted to ask you is that we don't have copies. I've requested that, and as I'm seeing in this response, the entity DCFC is still in progress of being fully formed. It's not even a nonprofit status yet. I just have some legal. I just want the legal counsel and to protect the college and see where we're at. I just have some concerns on that, and I just feel it. I don't want to go so hastily on something that we don't have the legal counsel of the Desert Community College speak on that. That's just my recommendation, and in the spirit of protecting our college, that's all.
Okay. And then the DCFC is something that we are creating as a district, so that we have this vehicle available to us. And what I'm understanding from Vice President Howell is that we've had counsel that has been retained by. We have counsel that's been retained by the district. The backup documents are in your binder.
No, I did not get copies of that, so I'm concerned as well. Where is it? It's not here.
Item number 6, all the backup documents should be, yeah.
And so.
It's blank? I didn't get all, see, these are concerns I have, that we need to get, every board member needs to get full copies of everything, because I didn't, it wasn't, but not this attached, it was on it when I did that online.
And so we've retained 2 attorneys on behalf of the district.
California counsel, as well as counsel that's located back.
They're actually in several states, but New Orleans and some other states, who are particular experts in new market tax credits.
So we needed 2 sets of counsel, one familiar with California law, because again, this is a validation process through the Supreme Court, California. So we're protected in going through that validation process for this particular transaction. So that's the purpose of it, is to make sure we have that added protection. We had many discussions as whether we needed to do validation or not, and we chose to move forward with validation. So it's actually, the transaction will be indeed validated, as West Hills was. It's a more expensive way to go, but we chose to go that way as a conservative approach.
And so at least if I may, the cost to the district.
At this point, the district has spent $0 other than the contract for Mr. Cohan Peaks LLC, which has been in place, I believe. This is the 2nd contract, and he's been on board for
about a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Looking for these particular transactions because it is of significant benefit to the college. We have spent no further money. We will spend no further money other than a $25,000 deposit with U.S.
Bank.
U.S. Bank. And that money then, every cost for the attorneys, for the counsel, for our consultants, we have some tax credit consultants that are, all of that money will be paid through the transaction and no cost to the college. And the $1.75 million estimate is money that would come to us net of the proceeds. So that is the amount of money the college will receive around the 2nd or 3rd of June.
Actually, to be accurate, the college will receive substantially more than that when we close, but over the course of 7 years of the tax credit structure, they'll have to pay other fees along the way as well. And the $1.7 million is what the net benefit the college will have received at the end of the 7 years, net of any and all costs. And to also help the board assess this, to give you an idea of what I'm often asked in these venues, what risks are involved. And I can make this very simple for you. The college has virtually no risk of doing this other than what Vice President Howell said. Said another way, there are only a couple of things that people, if you enter into this transaction, they could come back to the college and ask for money or damages. And those are 2 things. One, if you take the building and you pick it up and you move it to another point on the face of the earth, it would change the census tract that it's in on the day that we close the transaction. Obviously, if you're running an operating business and not just a real estate-based project, that is something that people have to consider. In your case, it would be ludicrous. It's not a risk. And the other is if you start using the facility primarily for one of the excluded uses like a bar, a tattoo parlor, a gambling establishment, those type of things. As long as you don't do one of those 2 things, there is nothing that would jeopardize U.S. Bank from getting its tax credits. Even if the College of the Desert somewhere in that 7 years went out of business and didn't exist anymore, U.S. Bank would continue to get its tax credits. So there really is no risk other than somebody saying that you did not duly enter into this transaction administratively properly, and this validation process is simply the way of bulletproofing you against that. And unfortunately, there's a 60-day window that we have to wait to go through the validation process. and that will hold up how long we have to close on the transaction, which is causing a little bit of angst with the people who we're doing the transaction with, because they need to get it closed for their own purposes as well. But they can live with the 60 days.
For their tax credit purposes, yes.
Yes, correct.
Are there any other questions? Okay, so again, I'll try to recap, because this is a very complex thing, and I in no way can claim to understand the tax credits, except this conceptual method. The adoption of this resolution basically is so we are asking the court to please look at our process and validate that it is a legal process.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. There seems to be no more discussion. It's a roll call vote.
Okay, Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Sanchez.
Nay.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Trustee Broughton.
Aye. The motion carries 3-1, with Trustee Sanchez voting nay, with Trustees Wilson, Stefan, and Broughton voting aye.
Now, who do we blame, Dr. Kimmen, if it doesn't come through?
If
It would be me.
Yeah, if it
Absolutely. I'll
goes
take
to
It just sounds too good to be
That's
true.
what,
I'm
if it goes to the court, and the court
Yeah.
looks at it and says, the way you're doing it isn't right, my guess is the court will give some sort of direction as to where we have failed to do it right, and we can hope that it still works for the tax credit, people that are getting the tax credit, and we can repair whatever the court recommends.
I'm looking to Mr. Cohen
And
to
move
answer
on.
that, because I cannot answer that.
And I'm not an attorney, so I can't speak to the actual legalities of the validation process through the state of California. But yes, the court would look at this and say there is something in this administratively that would need to be corrected. And to get to Board Member Sanchez's comments, one of the things I could offer you that may give you a little comfort, it does sound too good to be true. We always laugh that when the government comes knocking and says, I have something free to give you, you go, right. I can say that this program has been around for 12 years now, and that I've been doing it since almost the inception of the program, first for a nonprofit for the first several years. They have closed over roughly $36 billion worth of new market tax credit capacity over the last roughly dozen years in what is now amounting to 1,000 or more transactions. And it can only be used, however, for something like a mission-oriented, something that's going to help low-income people. It can only happen if it's a low-income-based community organization and you're qualified. And we had people who, before they agreed to do this, looked at the mission of this and have all gotten very excited by that. So the only thing I can help you is to understand that it is a real program, and quite a bit has gone on prior to this.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the study session, the board evaluations, which I'm hoping we have.
Yes.
Are they in the back of our books? That shows I did not look at the back of our books. Shame on me. Okay. In the back of your notebook, as was so nicely pointed out to me, it's a bad thing about being chair, you don't have time to flip through. You'll find our compiled Board of Trustees self-evaluations. I'm open for us to discuss them if there's anyone that has any comments. Otherwise, I suggest that we keep these and we use them as an instrument as we move on to the next step of the evaluation, which is, much like accreditation, we decide how we're going to evaluate ourselves on the next round. And that next round would be that we have been passed out, again, I'm flipping through my papers here, a set of papers that has possible, as a board, we said we would like to consider bringing in a facilitator for our next round of evaluations. And we have a packet of 4 possible suggested facilitators. and a little about them. I would ask the board to study these between now and the next board meeting. I'm not so presumptuous as to say, let's look at them and decide today. Think in your experience and see if there's someone that we should have had included in this list that we didn't. And if so, send that information in to Leanne so Leanne can share it with us. And then at the next board meeting, let's look at these possible facilitators and come up with an idea of the top 2, maybe the top 3. Maybe we'll rank them. And then we can have a more focused discussion, see what they would offer, decide, the next step will be decide what we want from these, specifically some points that we would like these facilitators to help us with. My vision is that the facilitator would help us to be a better, stronger, more focused board that could influence and facilitate student success. So that's, if you would look at these and look at our board, pop our self-evaluations out of the back of your binder. That's something worth taking home. And then looking at places that we felt good about ourselves or bad about ourselves, or you look at it and go, really? Oh yeah, we really need to do that better. Let's put that on our list of things that we would ask from this facilitator. As I see this process, the next thing will be, as we're choosing a facilitator, will be to begin to focus on board goals. I don't think we're going to be ready to bring board goals back until we should start truly focusing and making that list by May. But we already have our outline there. So let's think on those, but let's really be ready for a serious discussion of choosing the ones in May so that we can have some very clear board goals, because then we're going to want to look and see how those tie in with the rest of the process. Okay, what else did I forget?
We forgot the vote.
Oh,
The initial vote.
for the, yes, that's accreditation report. Someone help me here?
And we also have one more presentation in the study session.
Okay, which?
So it's a community college survey of student engagement data report.
Yes, okay. And the accreditation report we've already received.
Yes,
It was
yes.
excellent. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out what else it was in the accreditation report. So our next item is community college survey of student engagement, which I'm really
Okay.
looking forward to.
Dr. Neary, would you like to do the introduction? Okay, thank you.
I'm very happy and honored to introduce Dr. Daniel Martinez, who has, again, over 20 years of research experience in the state of California within the California community colleges. And he currently sits on one of the state matriculation committees. And he'll be a little timid, but in terms of CalPAS data, he's one of the original, I think, architects of the CalPAS data and that facilitation of K through 14 data sharing. And he's also, I would say, basic skills, matriculation, and some other pathways research that he published within the state. And he's here today to present the Community College Survey of Student Engagement for Institutional Improvement. And I think you'll be very happy once you see the presentation. And there's some comparisons he has done specifically for you.
Thank you. Board of Trustees, Dr. Kinnaman, thank you for this opportunity to present this information. I had the opportunity to present this information to the College Planning Council a few weeks ago, and so I'm glad to do it here for this group as well. The survey is called the Community College Survey of Student Engagement, but we usually refer to it as the CESI. There you go. A little background on the CESI. It started in 2001. It was in response to a national survey that was for four-year schools called the National Survey of Student Engagement. but because that was specifically for four-year schools, a group of people in Texas decided to develop a similar project for community colleges. It's heavily research-based, and it includes both student and faculty surveys. Why would we study student engagement? Well, the research shows that it's highly correlated with increased student learning and in student retention. And when I mentioned that the survey is research-based, every question on the survey, it's an 8-page survey, every question on the survey has an annotated bibliography of research that's associated with that question and why it's included. College of the Desert has engaged in this survey in 2008, 2010, 2012. This table shows both the sample size and the head count of the students at the time that we administered the survey. We are just about to conduct the survey again this semester, and so we're very excited about that. As I have worked with the SESI, I have found that there are three ways to use it. One is with benchmarks, which are provided by SESI. One is to use the results from the survey directly, called direct information. And then another way is to use measures that are specific to institution, that I call institutional measures, that I'll describe briefly. And I think that the institutional measures are probably the most interesting and useful part of the tool. There are 5 SESI benchmarks, including active and collaborative learning, student effort, academic challenge, student and faculty interaction, and support for learners. As we look at these benchmarks, though, the most important comparison that any college can make is where we are and where we want to be. Now, saying that, human nature being what it is, people like to know how we compare. So, first of all, here are the 5 benchmarks for College of the Desert in 2008. Benchmarks are calculated to be between 0 and 100. The overall SESI benchmark, every time they compute their benchmarks, is a 50. So you can see here, based on these 5 benchmarks for College of the Desert in 2008, most of the measures are right around, a little bit above that 50 mark, but student-faculty interaction is a little low. In 2010, the shape was almost the same, although there was a drop in support for learners, how students responded to those questions. And then in 2012, it was almost the same shape as the first one, but everything was a little bit higher. Each of these benchmarks consists of a series of questions that the students answer. And these questions are then put together into this benchmark. Now, the reason we bring this up is that if we want to address a certain benchmark, let's say student-faculty interaction, I only point that out because it's low. If we wanted to do that, then what we would need to do is to look at the specific questions that comprise the benchmark and see how we might then gear activities that might affect how students answer these questions. So this particular benchmark, active and collaborative learning, includes these questions. I realize it's small. I'm really just trying to show you that that there are a series of questions that make up the benchmark. You can see here that participated in a community-based project as part of a regular course was the lowest for the 3 years so far that COD has participated in the survey. Let's see, with the next one. Student effort. These are the questions that comprise the student effort benchmark. Academic challenge. Student-faculty interaction. So again, because that was low, if we wanted to address, if the college decided we wanted to try to move that benchmark up higher, we would look at these specific questions and see how we can gear activities in that way. And then the 5th benchmark is support for learners. As I mentioned, SESI does provide comparisons of colleges that participate in the survey and they compare it to their overall cohort as well as to other groups of colleges under which a particular college falls. COD, using the CESI rubric, is a large college or a larger college. And so you can see that COD is the blue line, the larger colleges is the red line, and then the benchmarks, as mentioned, are 50. That's the overall CESI cohort. So for this particular benchmark, active and collaborative learning, over the three years that we've administered the CESI, COD benchmarks have been higher than other larger colleges, as well as the overall CESI cohort.
How did smaller colleges do? If we're larger, how did smaller do?
We could look at that information, but we didn't do it, but we certainly could look at it.
Curious.
Yeah. This is the benchmark of student effort. Still, again, above the CESI benchmark in larger college. Academic challenge. And then here's student-faculty interaction. As we noted, that one's lower than the other ones, and you can see that compared to the overall benchmark and other larger colleges, the respondents, the benchmarks for COD are lower than those other measures. And then this one is the support for learners, where there's been some wide variation over the 3 administrations of this survey. Now, another comparison, even though we want to compare ourselves so that we can see how we can improve, it's human nature to want to know how COD matches up to other colleges. So this is COD in 2012, and we looked at some other colleges in the region in our area, this kind of comparison colleges, to kind of see just see what they look like. And we used the most recent information that was available online. So that's COD. This is Chaffey College. Very similar shape. Palomar College, which has a much different shape. Crafton. I try to build on top of it, so that's Crafton. Yeah, that's Crafton.
No, I mean, where geographically is Crafton? Is it Redlands?
Ukaipa.
Oh, Ukaipa. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ukaipa. This is Riverside.
Where's Riverside?
You see that?
That blue, yeah.
That's Riverside, yeah. The next one is Norco College. Was there a question?
So you're comparing colleges that are geographically close to each other, not so much in terms of student population?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, so this was come on. There's Narco, and then I think the last one is Moreno Valley.
Sorry, I teach too,
Okay.
sorry.
And as you can see, for most community colleges, the student-faculty interaction is there's a drop compared to the other benchmarks, and so that may be a function of community colleges, but we're all seem to be in a similar boat.
When you're speaking about Moreno Valley, you're speaking about Riverside Community College, RCC?
Well, it's now its own college.
Oh, it is?
Yes, and Norco as well.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
the newest colleges in the system. I'm sorry.
So they're not under the RCC.
Nope. They became their own colleges in 2010. I was asked to do another set of comparisons. That comparing colleges to other colleges that were compared to using the statewide scorecard. And so there was a few colleges in that scorecard, even though I think there are 19 or 20 statewide. A few of the colleges participated, and so they thought the comparison might be interesting as well. And these colleges are more similar, based on a process the Chancellor's Office used to define these comparison colleges. So here's COD. Here's Modesto. Riverside. Oxnard College. It gets a little messy there, so there's Oxnard College. Bakersfield College. Fresno. And I think that might be the last one, Porterville. So, again, these benchmarks, again, by looking at these comparisons, I think it helps us to see that the student-faculty interaction tends to be one that's low. Some colleges have other kind of efforts that they need to address, but for us, we seem to be in the same kind of boat with other California community colleges. Another way that we can use the CESI is by looking at the answers to the survey directly. For instance, there's some questions on student services, and I've just picked this question randomly. And we ask the students if they've used a service, if they're satisfied with the service, and whether they think that service is important. And so even though the students say that the service is important, academic advising and planning, like only half the students, in terms of overall numbers, about half the students who said it was important used that service. Now those who used it, they seem to be relatively satisfied with it. So we can use that information directly instead of just using those benchmarks. Now, what I think is very interesting and exciting is the institutional measures. One of the selling points of the CESI is that they say that their questions, let me say it differently. The group of people working on the survey have mapped questions from the survey to each of the accreditation bodies regionally for that particular college, because this is a national survey. And so they do give us something like this. I know it's very messy. I'm just trying to show you what it looks like here. So on the left there, it's standard 2A, 1A, and it shows what the particular standard is. And then that last column to the right are all the questions according to the CESI folks that pertain to that particular standard. So then you can then take those questions in a process called normalization, where you can take, even though they're measured differently, you can transform those numbers into a scale from 0 to 100, and you can kind of see how that changes over time. So our office was able to put that information together just for this particular measure, 2A, 1A. And for the 2008, 2010, 2012 administrations, for that particular one, using those questions, you can see that there's been a slight drop, a very slight drop, between 2008 and 2012. It'll be interesting to see how that works for the 2014.
How real is that little, statistically, how strong is that difference?
I didn't check that particular answer, but I think the answer would be not significant. Because these are pretty substantially large samples.
Yes.
If they were smaller samples, there might be a difference, but being that they're pretty large, I doubt that this would be. But I apologize that I don't have that answer.
No, I just wondered, that feeling is close enough.
Right.
Well, sometimes you look at a 66 and a 64 and you go, wow, that's a huge difference. But
Right.
That's not so much.
Right. One of the things that the normalization process, one of the things the normalization process allows us to do is we can then take these questions and assemble them differently according to how they might be pertinent to College of the Desert. We have not yet done that. We presented at the College Planning Council to suggest that this is a way we could do this. But when I was working at Riverside, a colleague and I mapped our institutional outcomes, which was very similar to what COD has. We mapped all the questions on the CESI to the institutional outcomes. This is just an example of that. So the intention was that we would create that same kind of measure, or at least we could create that same kind of measure for an institutional outcome using data that we have from the CESI. And then because we have that information, we could look at students who have completed different levels of units, with different majors, all kinds of different things like that. So I presented that to the Planning Council just as as an option. And I've also used the normalization process for other projects, and it's been a very useful process. What are the next steps? That's an open question. My office is currently we've presented this information to a few groups to say, how would you like to use it? We are currently in the process of looking at analyzing the survey over the 3 years, question by question, and we're also going to divide it up by the different demographics as collected in the survey. So that's going to be it's an involved process to look at that survey, but I think that we'll be able to do some interesting things with that. But the next question is really, how can my office serve the college? And I think the Planning Council is going to be asking us for some very interesting work in the next few months.
Good.
Thank you.
So, was this offered, I believe I remember holding a test booklet in my hand on some occasion. Is this offered to students across the district or only at our main campus? Do you know that? You might be asking too soon.
No, actually, I should know and I'm kind of drawing a blank. I believe it's across the district. The CESI asks us to exclude certain groups like distance education students. But I think that, in fact, it does include any students regardless
So
of
we
location.
do Palm Springs and this campus and Indio and Macathermal.
Now, what we've done is we provided data to CESI. Who gets selected to do the survey, and it's done
It's
section
random?
by section, is selected by CESI. And so we do have a little bit of leeway if people are not able or willing to participate
Right.
with the survey, but we're not the ones who pick who it is. But every course and every location is eligible to be chosen. Yes.
So, my other question would be, and I think this would go to the Planning Council and to the Academic Senate and to other places, is first, I'm really surprised that the student-faculty interaction is the lowest thing, because that's not generally how one feels about a community college. But I think that it's probably being interpreted differently than we would interpret from, reading the questions. But that's obviously a place that we need improvement. So it'd be interesting to know what suggestions are for us to do a better job in those places.
Well, the suggestion that I made to the Planning Council, because that seems to be an obvious thing, you look at that particular
Yeah,
slide.
I mean, it's an in-your-face thing.
Right. And as I've looked at the questions and tried to study this, this actually needs to we need to dig deeper into it. We can look at how students responded by ethnicity, gender, age, different categories. We could look at that. But most importantly, you remember that one slide where I showed how each benchmark consisted of these different questions? First of all, we need to look at those questions.
We need to look at those questions.
And then we have to see what that means to the student. I presented this in a couple of different venues, and because the faculty-student interaction is usually the lowest, discussion all of a sudden starts up, and it almost always goes to part-time faculty hours. I'm just reflecting. I'm not making a judgment or anything. I'm just reflecting what the conversation is. That issue, whether it's important or not, is not asked as part of the survey.
Right.
And so we may make that effort, and it may be wonderful, but it may not be reflected in the next time we administer the CESI, because that particular action may not pertain to the questions.
But one can surmise that the problem is, or the perception, I'm not sure it's a problem, the perception is universal, because all the community colleges you looked at rated that. So there's either a question, the way the questions are asked problem, or there's a perception from the students problem,
Right.
or we're naming it the wrong thing,
Very possible.
That's
true. That's absolutely true.
that data point we're calling something that's not particularly. Do we have any way, I probably would do that on a different survey, to ask the question that I always wonder is, for our students, do they have access to the internet other than on our campus? And how do they get to school?
Well, thank you for asking that question.
Well, well, those two, that's to say, how do they get to school, and do they have access to the internet?
So I can address, I can partially address the internet question, but not the transportation question. COD is participating in a national survey on how students and faculty utilize technology in the learning process. It's with this national group called EDUCAUSE. Last year, one of my friends and colleagues sent an email to community colleges and said, we have not had California community colleges ever participate in our EDUCAUSE survey. And it just so happened that at Riverside at the time, we were right in the middle of discussing that very topic. So we jumped on that opportunity. And so when I came here, I approached Dr. Neri about it, and I said, this is a wonderful opportunity. I'd like to do it. And so I'm going to be sending out the invitation to participate to the students probably this afternoon. And they'll have about 3 weeks or so to respond via the internet about that. And it'll be I think it's going to be a very useful piece of information. We've already asked the faculty, but that survey now is closed. And the faculty survey, this is the first time EDUCAUSE has conducted a faculty survey, so it's going to be very interesting to see those results.
See, although I am very interested in how the faculty does it, I figure the faculty are adults, and they have means. Large or small, they have means. Students are students, and many of our students live 15 minutes from the edge of the earth. It just depends on which edge you're looking at. And internet is perhaps not as available. High-quality internet is perhaps not as available at those areas. And although we, of course, cannot supply internet for the world, it may be that we can figure a way that we can offer more opportunities to those students on our own facilities to study or to use it. It's not as convenient as being able to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning when you wake up and remember you have a paper to write, but it's still something.
I think the
it
results,
would be an interesting bit of information.
Yeah, I think the results from the EDUCAUSE survey, I think it's going to be really interesting to share with the college when we get those results, probably in July or August.
Good.
So you're going to ask the digital divide with our communities. That's a huge topic for education. Huge topic, the digital divide in higher education.
I don't know that the survey specifically addresses it, but I'm sure that they ask
the questions.
Some classification questions, gender, age, ethnicity, that kind of thing. And so we do get the raw data, and we will be able to then analyze that data.
And piggyback with Chairman Broughton, the transportation,
Is there any way we can?
Is there any way we can?
Sometimes it's a curiosity question, but it answers a lot of other issues. Like, why do students not persist in a class? They couldn't get there.
I couldn't get there.
You know. So it's just another thing to look at, but it has nothing to do with this, which was excellent.
Thank you. I'm sure our office will try to engage it as.
So the transportation question, if you wouldn't mind me addressing that survey. Actually, when there was the topic of Sunline, there was a really comprehensive transportation survey designed. And kind of the last steps is after the technology survey is to have Daniel and his team and their expertise review the survey to see if we can issue it out. But there is a design survey. Now, is it quite to the standards of research? Not quite yet, but once he reviews it, we can actually send out that survey. But that came from a lot of work from ASCOD and Carlos Maldonado, and then the Sunline discussion.
And on the other hand, the research quality is always nice. I'm not sure that there's anything we can do with the results except it will help us on that persistence question and figuring workarounds. We can't supply internet to everyone. We can't supply transportation to everyone. We can help figure out ways that would work for our students that are within our sphere of influence.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other?
I think another issue maybe is security on campus as well. Have you addressed that one? Just to get an idea, I'd like.
Our office hasn't yet. We're still in a capacity building mode.
Yes, of course.
But I'm sure it's something that we can address and address that in the future.
It's very interesting and excellent. I love the way it's tied together. It's fascinating what you can do with the results. The questionnaire that we read some time ago, and I feel like this was the one, the questions are terrific. They're asked very professionally. They don't push toward an answer. I mean, it's a very fair, or appears to be a very fair set of questions.
The survey is a rock solid survey, looked at by many people with expertise in survey design. It's an excellent survey. It really is.
So, again, I just want to thank Dr. Martinez and Dr. Neary for all the work they've been doing the past few months. It's evidenced by the reports, I think, today, and also what a significant difference our research function is from a year ago, a year and a half ago with this type of data. And as we're moving forward with our student success agenda, we will continue to rely heavily on your work. So thank you.
Thank you for all that hard work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the very nice explanation of it
Great.
to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's an information item to come before the board. With the CCCT board elections, there's a ballot hiding in the back of your notebook. Please vote and turn it in. Leanne will tabulate the votes. The highest vote getter, she will send on our official thing, and we will sign it and turn it in. You don't have to sign it. We're just voting. And we have one vote. The board has one vote, so that's the way that works. We need any continuation of closed session? No? Okay. So I move we adjourn.
I have a question,
Yes.
just a comment before. Just wanted maybe sometime in the agenda to talk about the status of the Desert Hot Springs, where we're at. Just if we could put that in. Thank you.
Move we adjourn. And I like that. It's that hour.